All right. Thank you all again so much for joining us. Super excited to introduce Brittany. Brittany Wilhelme. They are a management analyst five with the Department of Labor and Industries. And they actually used to work with Results Washington way back in the day. So we're super excited to have Brittany here with us today to share their knowledge and experience using the STEEPLE analysis. So Brittany, thanks again for taking time to be here with us and just take it away. Take it away. We're so excited.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. One of the things I am going to do is I am going to turn off my video to save us all some bandwidth while I talk about this. So, the steeple analysis is a tool that I actually discovered during my bachelor's degree in 2017. And I have used it ever since. It is one of my favorite tools, and it has been described to me as a SWOT on steroids. I hope that you all find this tool beneficial. I'm really excited to share it with you today. So, a couple of the things, hopefully, when we get through with today, you'll know what steeple stands for, how and when to use a steeple, why you might use it, and how you can use a steeple analysis to help close gaps. And I'm also going to provide you with a list of some similar tools to take back with you. So, what is a steeple analysis? It operates like a SWOT with quite a bit more detail. SWOT seems to work best for public or, excuse me, private sectors, where steeple is more ideal for those of us that work in those factors that are influenced and dictated by government, nonprofit, and public work. I know for a lot of us, we deal with things that not everyone in the private sector deals with, and that's where the steeple can really bring to light a lot of the issues that we might see coming later on in our projects. STEEPLE altogether stands for sociological, technological, environmental, economic, political, legal, and ethical. And it can sometimes include I for inclusivity, S for safety, or D for demographics. It scans the micro and macroeconomic climate of a problem, project, or opportunity. So anytime that you're looking at an upcoming project, you've stumbled on a problem, or you're looking at an opportunity, it is an ideal time to begin using a steeple analysis. It gauges internal and external factors, and it's used to track the environment an organization is operating in or intends to operate within. It can be used within all areas of work, from marketing to project management. I've seen it used in finance. It is very popular in lean, and I did do quite a bit of work as a business analyst, and it was my favorite tool during my business analyst days. Initially, when I stumbled on this tool, it was called a pestle analysis, or it can be referred to as a pest analysis, taking into account political, economic, sociological, technological, legal, and environmental. And it can be used to track trends, directions, performances, positions, roadblocks, opportunities, and threats. This is the kind of tool that you can use for just about everything. It's going to help you grab your stakeholders. It's going to help you identify all those risks and issues, roadblocks, constraints, assumptions. It's going to bring a lot of stuff to light very early on in your project. So when to use a steeple analysis? A steeple during planning can help the team understand the climate a project is about to operate in and help with an early definition of risks, stakeholders, and research preparation. During the doing stage, a steeple can help to show roadblocks, change agents, and other industry information. In the check stage of the PDCA, a steeple can uncover risks and help establish progress for a baseline. And during the act stage, it will help show what occurs in the new process. On the other side, in the DMAIC, which we're probably all a little more familiar with, it can be used to help define aspects of a problem and what is affecting it. During the measure phase, it can help provide a baseline and establish initial risks. It can show where the organization is at, where the industry is at. It can show some of those baseline numbers, helping with the establishment of metrics. Analysis with a steeple means being able to scan the micro and macro environments to see what affects the project and what is in the locus of control. As with the check stage, the steeple in the improve phase can show where you have come from baseline and where you may still need to go. Finally, control with a steeple can be done by continually updating the steeple to control and measure the new processes and plan the recycle. Why would one use a steeple analysis? When it's conducted with interested parties of projects or problems, it can generate an idea of missing visible and invisible stakeholders. One of the invisible stakeholders that I often see are wildlife. Those of you that are on capital projects might find that wildlife is often an invisible stakeholder that's left out of your projects. It helps to uncover risks in various aspects of projects. So again, looking for those constraints, the assumptions, potential issues. It's going to look for roadblocks. It provides guidance on legal and political constraints. This is extremely important in government. We all work within political control, and we're often on projects that are defined through politics and legislation. Knowing and understanding the political agenda and the political climate is incredibly important to state government, federal government, and even local government work. It produces information on the change climate and behaviors of affected parties, so helping with that change management aspect. It provides consideration on resourcing specific needs. So, do you need a land surveyor, a scientist, a specialist in the field? Do you need to go deeper into your community and look for more information? Have you done enough research to make sure that you have your visible and invisible stakeholders? The STEEP will help uncover that type of information. It also will let you know if now is maybe not the right time for a project, or if that project is as efficient as possible due to certain non-negotiable constraints. The Steeple was a really valuable tool for me during the COVID experience. It let me know that some things simply weren't possible because during that time, there were a lot of executive orders that were happening. There were a lot of quick change items that were non-negotiable constraints that meant that some projects had to be paused, in some cases indefinitely, as we allowed for the new normal to really take place. It also provides information on market, financial, and risk analysis up front to allow for proper planning. I want to just pause there and make sure that I don't have any questions.
No questions that I'm seeing, Brittany.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So next is probably the most important. Now you have information on what a steeple can do for you, what it can do for your project, what it can do for your agency, but how can you use it? So while the steeple can be conducted at any time during a project, it is most effective the earlier it is performed. So definitely you want to try and get this done right after you've done your stakeholder analysis. After the initial stakeholder analysis is complete, a facilitator gathers your group of subject matter experts. So any of your key stakeholders are going to be very, very important for your steeple to take place. I split my steeple into manageable parts. I usually do it one letter at a time. I start with sociological with my subject matter experts. I set a duration of time and I work through that until it feels like we don't have anything else to cover. And I also like to use a SWOT analysis at the same time. I like to address those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats within each different aspect of the steeple. So when you're looking at sociological, technological, environmental, you're also looking at the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and threats. So you're doing your SWOT at the same time, which can really save you time in the long run. It allows subject matter experts to send additional information on factors they hadn't considered, remembered, or thought of during the meeting. If you allow them to send additional thoughts via email or Teams message afterwards, I like to leave my staple analysis open for a couple of weeks. So while I might conduct the entire staple analysis over a series of meetings in 1 week, I'll leave it open for a couple of weeks after that, with the caveat that individuals know that they can send me an email or contact me and let me know, hey, I've just had this thought regarding our technological information. We can't change our system right now. It's not possible. WATEC said no. Great, now we know. If you split the meetings into manageable chunks of time and plan for additional meetings in case the time spent or some factors exceed the agenda, you'll avoid cutting off the thoughts as they're flowing out of your subject matter experts. So you're really trying to set up almost a brainstorming where they're thinking about how all of these different factors are influencing and affecting the work that they're about to be doing and also the market climate that they're entering. What you want to do before you begin is ask participants to bring a notepad and pen so they can write down thoughts as others speak that they can share later, or have someone monitoring and copying chat in virtual meetings. It's a really, really good idea to have a partner facilitator when you're doing steeple analyses because you're going to have a lot of thoughts flowing really, really quickly, and you want to try and capture all of them. And while that's not always possible, you want to capture as many of them as possible and make sure that you do a follow-up. Send a follow-up email with everything that you talked about, with all of the notes that you captured, and ask your group to send in anything that you might have missed, that they might have thought of after the fact. That way you have everything that you need. After all the factors have been discussed and the deadline for submissions has ended, analyze and categorize. Make sure that you're categorizing those risks, barriers, constraints, opportunities, assumptions, any resources or resource needs, concerns, and additional information within your RAID log. And the RAID log is that risks, assumptions, issues, and decisions log that several project managers are keeping. Sometimes it's held separately, sometimes all together, but you want to document any of those pieces of information within what other logs you're using to track your project. Also, have your lessons learned log and make sure that you're capturing not only the lessons learned for the project, but also any lessons learned personally for your steeple analysis so that the next time that you have to do it, when you move through the rest of the phases within your project, that you're going back through and you're redoing some pieces of the steeple so that we are capturing new information as it's flowing in. So ways to track a steeple. Murals or whiteboards, Teams whiteboards, murals or Miro is a good tool to use. If you are in an office and you have access to a butcher block or maybe a whiteboard, you're using those options. Or a cork board with sticky notes or a wall with sticky notes. If you've done a process mapping event and you've used long, large sheets of paper with sticky notes, you can do the same thing with your steeple analysis, and you can take those sticky notes with you and walk away with them in order to categorize easier. One of my favorite ways to use a steeple analysis is with Visio. I find that it's really, really easy for me to take all of the different pieces and move them around. This is a steeple analysis that I did for a grants project that I was working on, and it just highlights some of the different pieces that we had within each area. After this, what I did was I went through and I set up a legend for different colors and I color coded all of these different pieces so that I knew where my risks were, where my constraints were, where I had resource fallout, and where I needed to do additional consideration. So any of these options is a great way to conduct a steeple analysis. Do what's most comfortable for you within the environment that you're operating within. So next I have kind of a task for you. If you want to grab a piece of paper and a pen, I'm not going to quiz you. There are no tests at the end, but you might need it to jot down some of your ideas. We're going to do a little exercise. We're going to put a water park in your community, and we're going to kind of work through a steeple. And what you want to do is you want to identify the visible and invisible stakeholders that you have. So maybe on your sheet of paper, jot down some of the first people that you might think of who might be interested or invested in a water park in your community. Remember that you're also a stakeholder. You live and work in the community. Your children go to school in the community. Maybe your partner works in or near your community as well. So take that into consideration. And the next thing that we would do in this case is send a communication about our needs to our stakeholders, letting them know. Hey, we're going to be building a water park. I really value and need your input on these different strategic areas, and we'll be meeting at this particular time in this particular way, where I will gather those thoughts from you. Then you want to conduct your meeting with your stakeholders. I do my steeples in order. I always start with sociological and I end with ethical. So sociologically, let's evaluate age distribution. Are there enough families with young kids to support a water park within this community? While we're considering this age distribution, we also want to talk about all of the other known sociocultural factors that involve the demographics, which include the beliefs, attitudes, and traditions of a region's inhabitants. These factors can help businesses understand the profiles and motivations of their potential customers and other stakeholders. And businesses could use these insights to develop marketing strategies that align with customers' needs and behaviors. Some of those sociological factors are the cultural trends, population growth, education levels, lifestyles, career attitudes. This slide deck will be available to you, so you will have this to lean on as you go to conduct your steeple as well. So there are several sociological factors to consider as you're putting up your water park. Next, we have technological. Emerging technologies. Are there ways to count capacity to ensure that you have enough staff available or to ensure that you're not breaking fire codes? Technological factors represent how business and industry utilize technology to produce and sell products and services to run operations. Businesses that stay up to date on technological advancements can use them to develop and improve their strategies and processes. Beyond advancements, technological factors might also include your consumers' access to the following, which includes the technology itself, software and hardware, capability and capacity, automation and research. Sometimes your consumers might find it easier or preferable to purchase items online. A business might decide to refocus its efforts toward an online store rather than a physical storefront if that's the case. Alternatively, advancements in automation can help manufacturers streamline production processes and produce more goods at a time. Environmental sustainability. How will we recycle or reclaim water? Environmental factors involve the impacts that changes in the natural environment can have on businesses. So we're looking at weather, pollution, agriculture, and sustainability practices. A scarcity of timber due to deforestation may affect businesses in the construction and real estate industries. So when we look at the environmental factors that also overlap with social factors, if customers care more about recycling, businesses that use recyclable materials in their products may encounter more success. Economic, consumer spending power. Do families have the disposable income to afford the costs of water park tickets? Will you profit if you keep those tickets at an affordable cost as well? You have a lot of things to consider in economic. Business is a huge part of economic consideration. Economic factors can directly impact a business's operations and profits. Economic and political factors may overlap, such as monetary policies that governments establish. Economic factors typically include economic growth, interest rates, supply and demand, inflation rates, consumer spending power. A rise in inflation may result in businesses laying off workers to save money. It might also lead to an increase in unemployment. Political is a big one that we have, and there's one thing that I really want to talk about considering this particular piece of the steeple analysis. When we're talking about politics, we're considering the agenda at large, not the political stance of the people. We are considering the actual impacts of the legislation that is coming forward. So we want to steer people away from a battle between Republican and Democrat, those types of things. And we really want to focus on the actual meat of the political agenda. So we also want to consider tax policies. Consider the tax costs of the water park property. water reclamation, employees, and the city in which you would operate. Political factors involve the ways and extend to which a government intervenes in economies or industries. So, in this area, we're talking about things like trade barriers, tax policies, political stability, and is it an election year? Where are we at within the legislative cycle? And have we done our research into the legislative intent? Do we really understand what our legislators want us to do in this arena? As we're evaluating all of this and we're steering away from the political battle and really evaluating the meat of the political agenda, we want to evaluate how it's going to impact our project and what it's going to do to the future of our project when the political agenda shifts again within the next political cycle. The next consideration is legal. So, in this arena, we're talking about health and safety. How will you protect customers and yourself at your community water park? Legal factors are the laws of the country in which the business resides. These laws may overlap with other factors, particularly political factors, and can impact how businesses in that country operate. We're looking at things like health and safety, international trade, consumer rights, product labeling, product safety, and the environmental laws within which we're going to operate. Finally, ethical. Morality. What are your personal and cultural values? Will your values negatively affect your customers or employees? Social values are an integral part of the ethical aspects of an organization that governs their behavior. Ethical elements determine what is correct and what is not. So we're looking at the tendency of the people, morality, integrity, duties, whether the practices in sales and advertising are ethical or not. Is everyone getting a fair end of the deal? The attitude of the organization towards counterfeiting and breaking patents, and the affiliation between corporations and charities. And the last three that we talked about that will give you either a steeply, a steepleese, or a steepled. So we're looking at inclusivity, safety, and demographics. When we're talking about inclusive, ADA, how will people access the water park? Safety threshold for our safe arena. How much risk will you take on versus your customers? Will you have things like waivers? And demographics. Do people in the city know how to swim or do they like to swim? When we're working within the inclusive arena, we want to think about cultural norms that affect inclusivity, the company culture, our recruitment processes, and being ADA compliant. Under safety, what keeps the company safe? What does safe look like for each employee? And what is the threshold of safety? And demographics, which kind of overlaps really well with the sociological aspect, because we're also looking at the impacts of the demographic traits, population sizes, trends, education, urbanization. And I will pause there and check for questions one more time.
Not seeing any in the chat, but does anybody have any questions? Feel free to raise your hand or pop it on in.
Wonderful. I will move on. So other tools, we have talked about the SWOT analysis, and I'm sure that you're all familiar with that one, but that's your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If you don't have the time or you're unable to do a full steeple, some of the other options are the pest analysis or the pestle, also the steeples, steepled, and steeply analysis. So whatever combination you need to make your project work, grab the aspects that you need and conduct them as robustly as you have to in order to be complete within your project. So, some additional ways to use a steeple. You can use it within your financial analysis to evaluate where you and your company, your agency are at financially. Use it to conduct a risk analysis to find risks within each of the different areas. You can use it for strategic planning with or without or instead of a SWOT analysis. You can use it in conjunction with your stakeholder analysis. I've used it during acceptance and evaluation. You can use it in market analysis. It is a brainstorming tool. It's good for data mining, focus groups, lessons learned, metric and KPI development, and scope modeling. And that is the end of the tool, the steeple analysis. I hope that you all have something that you can take back with you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I am always available to answer questions or to provide support for a steeple analysis if you're going through it the first time. I am available for you to lean on. I love the steeple analysis. I hope that you all have a chance to use it. And thank you so much for letting me present.
That was amazing, Brittany. Thank you so much for presenting today. Yeah, feel free to drop any questions in the chat, or folks, if you want to come off of mic, raise your hand. Um, let us know while we have Brittany in the room today. I think, Brittany, I just have one question while we kind of give folks some time. Out of the different steeple categories, what do you find is usually the most challenging for folks to really think about and address? And do you have any suggestions on how people can maybe reframe thinking about it, or just being able to come up with something in that category?
Yeah, the most difficult is always political, especially now things are very politically charged. And we, as state government workers, really have to take that into account when we're doing our work because what really matters at the end of the day isn't who's in office or who's trying to be in office. It's the laws and the executive orders that are being passed and how they're going to affect us, the work that we're doing, and our communities. So when you go to look at the political aspect, remind people that it has nothing to do with who's leading the office and everything to do with how those laws are going to affect the work that you're about to be doing, especially considering long term. What happens with when the people who are in office leave office and new laws are laid on top of these ones? How do we continue to move through the political environment knowing that we're going to have a change every 2 years or every 4 years? It can be really difficult to frame, especially as we go into election season. It's always good to just remind people that at the end of the day, when the election is over and everybody has moved on, the laws remain and we have to work within them. The other one that's been really difficult for me within government is technological. We don't always get a say in our technology or when we can upgrade our technology or make changes to it. That is where we really find a lot of our risks and a lot of our constraints. And it can be really, really difficult to look at something and know that we really need to advance our technology and not be able to. And we find a lot of workarounds within the technological aspect of the steeple.
Oh, yes. I think we were literally just having a conversation about a great management system that'd be so, so helpful for us. But, with budget constraints and, all of that, we do have to find workarounds. So I can t definitely see technology being kind of just an issue for folks to think through. Markeisha Brittany asked, how do we reach you for questions? Would you mind dropping your chat or your email in the chat?
Yes, absolutely. Let me
Awesome.
do that.
Great. Perfect, perfect. I know there were a few folks who indicated they've usually are more familiar with the pestle model or pestle, I think I read. And
Yep.
oh, perfect. And I think we had a few folks that were intermediate and advanced with using the steeple. If you all are still here, is there any insight or kind of lessons that you learned through utilizing this tool? Oh, it looks like Karen has her hand up. Karen.
It wasn't necessarily about the specific question, but my question was, in order to, whenever you identify the stakeholders and you're trying to hold a session, to have a steeple analysis, I find it very challenging sometimes when you're dealing with, like community or other folks to have them engage or even show up to talk. Is there anything that you found on itself that is helpful or
Yeah, more than once I have conducted a steeple analysis via email. It is not the best way to do that, but if you provide detailed context about exactly what you're looking for, you can conduct a moderate steeple analysis through email or through chat. A really robust steeple analysis can take several hours to do, and some people balk when they hear that it takes about 15 hours to do a true robust steeple analysis. But if you know that your stakeholders are not going to be available for all of that time, you
Mhm.
can identify when it might be most beneficial for them to appear in different aspects of the steeple, or you can conduct portions of it via email. And you can always email back and forth if you have more questions.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, Karen. Any other questions or any lessons learned that anyone wants to share?
I'll just say something really quick if no one else has anything at the moment. I want to thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I don't know about anyone else, but I was over here geeking out. I am one of those people that I love like a list of reference of prompts, right? Like we know things we need to consider when doing projects, but do we literally always truly think of all the things within that category to consider? So I really appreciate the way you laid out these slides and this tool and just really gave us prompts for each category. I know for a fact that we're going to be using this stuff going forward and really feel good about the decisions. We'll have informed decisions that we can make now, having done thorough analysis. So I really appreciate that, Britt. And I also appreciate the way you used an example going through with the water park. Like you showed us, okay, here's an example. This is how you would, use this one and use this one. And so that's just really appreciated. So thank you for the thorough layout, for the example, and also for, being there to coach us if we have questions in the future. I appreciate you sharing your email. So this was a really great presentation, and I'm very grateful for you and for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm really grateful for you.
Well said, absolutely. Diana has a question for you, Brittany. What is the most effective way you engage folks, and how would you facilitate it?
Yeah, you can do it either way. I think we've all heard many times that doing in person is the best way to engage with individuals. But when we're talking about something like a steeple analysis and we're talking about something that's going to take about 15 hours to do really well, that can be a lot to ask, not only of your subject matter experts, but of the position that they're in and the supervisor that they're working with. It really helps to identify exactly who you'll need, lay out exactly how much time you need them to dedicate up front, letting them know why it's important, why it's valuable, what's in it for them. And what's in it for them often is avoiding problems on the back end, avoiding finding risks too late, avoiding finding constraints too late. So what you're doing is you're saving time in the long run by taking time extensively up front to identify all of those different pieces. But the best way to engage with people is at the level that they're at. So when you send out that first email, ask people, how do you want to engage? Are you comfortable coming into the office? Are you comfortable coming into this community center and meeting for this amount of time? Are you able to meet with me via Zoom or Teams? Find out what works best for the group at large and then communicate early and often. Let them know, hey, this is how much time we're going to take. We're going to be meeting here. And we're going to be discussing these pieces, so please bring this information with you each time. The more that you can provide the group that you're about to be working with up front, the smoother it's going to be throughout the process, the less agitation you're going to have, and the more benefits you're going to see out of the steeple in the long run. Yes, proper prior planning.
Is so important. And the quote Jeannie put in, go slow to go fast. Like we have to take time to really, really plan it out and think of all the variables and the risks and you name it, constraints in order to proceed without so many bumps and hiccups. So great. Well said, well said. Any other questions? I think we have a little bit, yeah, some confirmation, Brittany. There, Jeannie was saying that she has some personal projects she wants to apply this to. So I think we can see, the application for sure. Awesome. Any more questions while we have Brittany? All right. Well, I think I will copy your email one more time, Brittany, in the chat, just in case there was anybody that popped on a little bit late. But feel free to reach out to Brittany if you have any additional questions. I'm sure they're more than willing to meet with you and walk you through. Appreciate that additional coaching, Brittany, and we just appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. If we have a little bit of time and space to talk through any projects or improvement efforts y'all are going through, and if you need any assistance or just kind of want to talk it through with the community here. So, anybody on the line?
Real fast, Teresa, I was thinking, since
Yeah.
we do have so much extra time, this might be a good time for us to briefly, address some of the questions that came in the chat earlier. So I know a few of you had asked about some more deeper questions about our agency's direction. Um, so let's see, I just kind of noted a few of them down. And I didn't want to go into too much today, but I wanted to let you know that we are working on, and Teresa actually put this in the chat, working on creating a plain language doc that's going to be a more digestible version of the EO. So it'll be a little bit nicer to read through that and understand really what our office will be doing. So once that's ready for publish, we will share that out with you all. So that way you can really get an idea of how we'll be working with agencies. But one of the ways is through helping agencies develop continuous improvement plans. We will continue uh, customer experience, continuous improvement, I should say. Um, and we'll be continuing to look at performance metrics. And if you remember, yeah, I think it was Megan that brought it up, that we did a performance management presentation a few months back. So if you look at the archive, you'll see that performance management presentation showed how we plan to manage performance with other agencies and the system we'll be using and all that good stuff. And Teresa, feel free to say more if you want to on that.
Yeah, no, I think just part of the EO, everything that was in our prior EO, the major responsibilities as far as performance management and being, that continuous improvement hub too. I mean, that's all being absorbed. So that's not going away. It's really, I think, really developing strategies and processes around how we can incorporate that into the customer experience. So a little bit more to come on that. And I think that plain language document will definitely be helpful because, it's so funny. There's like, oh, we must do plain language, but everything that we have is not in plain language. So very, very funny.
I want to come on that. And then Bridget, so The lean conferences here it's being morphed to align with our agency's new directions. Our agency's new direction is going to be really focused on the customer experience overall, right? With all the services and programs we as a state offer, we're really wanting to focus on what's the customer's experience with all of these services and programs. So our office is going to be diving into that realm, working with all state agencies, and therefore our conference is also going to be very focused on customer experience rather than lean in previous conferences. Looking at agency coordination when agencies are working on similar or same subject. Yeah, I think we are. I think I can't like go into any examples right now, but I know that we are in talks with many different agencies looking at how folks are currently doing their customer experience journey. And actually, you just reminded me, I do have some folks I'm going to reach out to at DOL because they have an amazing head start on their customer experience journey. And I would like them to come present for our community. So we'll be reaching out to them to possibly get them on the schedule for 2026.
Yeah, and I'll just add to good question, Karen. But part of our EO really too is to help reduce some of those silos that are occurring with across the enterprise. So if there are agencies that not only are involved in, the same service or what have you within that process, or there might be duplicative processes out there. We really do hope that part of the plans that agencies do submit will kind of bring some of those things to light. And, us being kind of that bridge, hence our logo, between not only Washingtonians and agencies, but agencies to agencies, and how can we work better together to really kind of not only streamline what we're doing, but also making the experience much better for the folks on the other end. Yeah.